live.
Ta-da!
Ta-ta!
People, we have had
Hello,
technical
everybody.
difficulties, so if we sound a little bit jaded at the beginning, don't worry about it. We will get right back into loving things again in a
Yes.
minute.
Because for those, and I'm certain, of course, unless it is that you were on this side of the world recording with us, which you weren't, you might not know this, but this is our second time attempting to record today. The first time, lots of technical difficulties. We started recording, we had to stop because things kind of got a bit not as we preferred. And so we're starting
Mhm.
again. But thank you for joining us on another episode of
Hello!
Subtitles, our girl's best friend. If you just thought, oh, that sounds so much like the name of that song that everybody knows, yes, that is actually it. It is a play on that song, which, as Ollie will tell you, we are not going to actually state because we do not have the rights to use it and we do not want to get sued.
But believe me, if it's in your head, trust me, it's in ours constantly as well.
Yes, and we consider it a success. Why? Because we are two women who love to watch dramas in languages that are different from ours, in languages that we do not speak, in languages that we would need subtitles to fully enjoy. Hence the reason why that is the name of the podcast. If it is that you've been a part of this journey and watched and listened, sorry, to our first two episodes, welcome back. If this is your first time discovering this podcast, hello, I'm Noria, and my very good friend Ollie and I decided to start this because we like to watch dramas, usually Asian dramas, uh, that we need subtitles for, and we like talking about it because we are two very opinionated women. Or wouldn't you agree, Holly?
What? Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So yeah, so far we have been staying on theme because I don't know if it is that you've noticed or maybe you missed it, but we do have a theme for the season. And the theme for the season is She Was Dead. Dum. And we're just basically playing on dramas that either have a this person was dead and is now alive, or this person is dead and is dealing with the afterlife. But basically, death comes for her in some form or way in the dramas we've been watching. Sometimes death succeeds, sometimes death doesn't, sometimes she will triumph over death. Whatever the case may be, it has been a ride. We've done some Chinese dramas, we've done some Korean dramas, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about two Korean dramas that we have watched. Um, Holly chose one, I chose one, we both watched it, and we're here to yap about it. But just before we get into it, like we say at the start of this episodes, kindly note that if it is that you're somebody who prefers your drama dubbed, i.e., to have actors who speak your language be the ones voicing said dramas, that is perfectly fine. We're not saying that you're not welcome to join this party or join this conversation with us. We just happen to be two women who love our dramas with subtitles because we appreciate
And
them squinting. We
and trying
appreciate
to come up with
squinting
a
at our
name
screen.
and having to come up with a name for a podcast that we both liked was always going to
Mhm.
take some grifting. But yeah, as Noria said, the overall season theme is they thought she was dead, and this episode, I believe the title I came up with for this episode was "Don't Fear the Reaper" or some variation
Yes.
of that, because both of us have
Yes.
tipping our toes into the wonderful world of Korean supernatural or paranormal. I'm not sure which one it is.
I
In
think
my
it's I
series,
do think it's probably more paranormal, and the
yeah,
reason
paranormal.
because it's yeah, also because of the fact that it does, mix both modern day sensibilities and
Hmm.
technical thinking, and brings in a bit of supernatural elements rather than it
Yeah,
just being primarily supernatural. For those
it's
who
one
are
of the things I
wondering
again.
yeah, no,
Sorry,
continue,
I was just
Holly.
going to say one of the things I do love about Korean supernatural or paranormal is that they are very good at mixing their traditions with the modern stuff, as opposed to
Yeah.
like a lot of the time with Western shows, instead of it being a monster of the week, you have this whole like the series will have this whole like running themes and running creatures and stuff, so that even if you have never watched a supernatural show before from this country, even if you've never glanced at a Wikipedia of like Korean superstitions or Korean deities, you'll be able to watch these shows like completely off the like Hotel de Luna was actually one of the first ones I ever watched, and it gave me a great interest and hunger to know about stuff, but I didn't need to know that stuff because the show is so good, and like something like these Korean shows especially are so good at building the world for you, and like not holding your hand but maybe like offering an arm to help you get out of the depth that you're in, kind of thing. um Sorry, I went on a complete ramble there. But yeah, I
No
think I
need, no
certainly
need
both
to
shows, because I
apologize.
admittedly, like 4 years ago, I watched a few episodes of Mystic Pop Up Bar, which is Noria's show, and loved
Mm.
it. But I don't have Netflix anymore, and it's not on Viki, so I haven't been able to watch the rest of it. But I seem to remember of that show as well. That like both of them are really good at taking you into this world that, and not expecting you to like have a degree in theology to be able to follow it and things like that, and it just makes you interested in the way that these like belief systems and things like that work, um, rather than like making you feel like you're treading blind. So I I'm sorry, I'm just gushing about how much I love these shows already, and we haven't even like
Gotten
introduced
into
them
it.
properly. I'm just like, oh my god, let me talk about how amazing they are.
I would
Noria, please
just
give me
for
structure.
those for those who are probably wondering, because you're like, Nori and Holly just kept talking. Yes, that was not you hearing things in your dream or in your mind. That was a cat. We
Oh
both
yeah,
have
sorry.
cats. Holly has a couple. I have only one. But that was Holly's cat Kitten, and she's very talkative and very vocal and very demanding. So we apologize for the meowing you heard in the background. But yeah, that's
If
the
it
life
helps
of
people, she
having a
was
pet.
really quiet earlier.
She was very
She was
quiet. She
beautifully
was very
quiet,
quiet.
and then I started recording, and now she's like, "How dare you talk to someone other than me?" Right,
Exactly.
who's going first this
For
time, my
those
darling?
that
Am I going
have,
first again?
yeah, no problem. I just want to provide some added information, just to give a
Do.
bit more structure. The two dramas that we are going to be talking about today's episode is Hotel de Luna and also the Mystic Pop-Up Bar. uh yes, both of these are entertainment structures that are built to service, on one hand the dead and on the other hand the living, but in both cases it's all about, there are shared themes that both dramas do have in common that you're going to listen to us basically talk about and walk through, hopefully in a way that, one, if it is that you've watched any of either of these dramas, you feel like, oh yeah, they got it. They highlighted why it is that these dramas made so much sense and they were so compelling and captivating. And if it is that you've not watched it, we hope sincerely that after you're done with this episode, you might actually find a couple more dramas to add
Mhm.
to your to watch list. We are big
Mhm.
fans of just keep adding to that list because life is short and let's watch dramas
Mm.
because dramas make us happy. Um,
Mhm.
and also to just add, I do think, actually, no, I was about to talk about why I think K drama, supernatural, paranormal
Mm.
dramas work so much better than the ones that, for example, we find in Western society. And it
Mhm.
just occurred to me that we can have that conversation at the end of the episode when we're just talking generally
Mhm.
about what the shows did well. So, with that said, I think Holly, you can take the floor and, like,
Mhm.
go first. Just a quick conversation or not so quick conversation about what Hotel de Luna is about, and your first
Mhm.
impression of like the first two episodes before we then go in like further.
Absolutely. Hotel de Luna is one of those shows where the lore is dripped out slowly throughout. So I'm going to try really hard not to spoil endgame stuff. But my brain does not work particularly well. So I apologize in advance if I do. Um, the show has historical flashbacks and modern day stuff. In the historical flashbacks, we meet Zhang Manuel, who is the head of a bandit clan, um, and we find her worryingly happy with her bestie and her boyfriend. And then we flash to her utterly miserable, taking a wagon full of possessions that belonged to her friends, and she is trying to find a place called the Hotel of the Moon, which is ironic because her name Manuel means moon. Because she's heard that it helps spirits pass over when they haven't been able to have a peaceful death, and the possessions belong to friends of hers who died very, very badly, as we find out later in the season. She makes a pact with, I have written this down to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, Margot Shin, who is the embodiment of a creator or god in this show. And she makes a bargain that in return for her friends going on to the afterlife peacefully, she will manage a hotel for the dead, for the dead, and for spirits who haven't fulfilled what in English parlance is referred to as unfinished business. But it's also like grudges, and to ensure that they don't become dark spirits who prey on humanity. And she says, yeah, sure, of course, I'm depressed. I'll agree to anything. So it then flashes to 1,000 years later, and she is still doing this job. And she is epic and gorgeous and beautiful, and played by an actress whose name is two letters. So I would say IU, but I'm guessing
Yeah,
that
it's
it's
IU.
EU. Is it
No, it's
IU?
IU.
Okay, so I didn't.
Yeah,
I
you got
didn't
it
want to
right.
assume, and I meant to look it up, and I forgot to look it up. And she
Yeah,
is
it's IU.
incredible, and I am going to watch everything this woman does. She's
She's
absolutely
also a brilliant
peerless.
musician. So
Really?
IU's music is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. That explains why she's got the letters, because that I think is a standard from K-pop and from music scene, is to use the letters when they do the translation over to English. But yeah, she absolutely embodies the immortal, ageless wisdom and endless bitchy pettiness that I feel if I was an immortal, I would absolutely 100% embody as well. She's her portrayal as Jiang Manuel, both as the young woman and as this 1,000-year-old immortal. I cannot say enough for how incredible they are, and she is absolutely amazing. She does it flawlessly. Her entrance in the modern world, I'm not going to describe it because I will not be able to do it just justice, and it's peerless. Absolutely sells you on this character who has made herself a character. Like, she is a woman who has said, this is
Mm.
who I am. This is who I've decided I'm always going to be. I am interested in the good life. I am so stylish. Everything I do is absolutely flawless and perfect. And nothing is ever going to shake my unshakable, unflappable life. So then the hero comes in, and he is first seen as a little boy, and his father, who is dying, says, I will, in return for looking after him, I swear that my son will be bonded to this hotel and will come back for you. And this is when he's a little boy. So when he grows up and he's got this schwanky Harvard business degree, oh my goodness, they are so funny about Harvard in this show. They do not respect it in the slightest, and I love it. Um, he's trying to get like a hotel in one of like the big resorts in Korea, and the character speaks really good English. I will say it's not the worst Korean actor speaking English, meant to be flawless, that I've heard. He does really, really well. The actor is called Yeo Jin-gu. Love him. Again, got to
Mm.
check out everything he does. If Jang Man-wol is a dummy mummy, he is 100% her brat. Like, obviously, this is a romance show. There isn't actually any BDSM mentioned at any point, but he is her brat. Um, she basically gives him the ability to see ghosts to force him to work for her, to try, because she does the whole, oh, I'll get rid of it for you after you've served your term and worked for me for a while. Um, And so because he's a normal human being and a little subby bubby, he is terrified by all the ghosts he's seeing. So he agrees, fine, I'll work with you. And then God gets involved again. God has different facets in this show. So you have the merciless soldier who will execute you if you become an evil spirit and hurt humanity. And then there's the adorable auntie who just wants everybody to be happy. And there's bad luck God, and there's good luck God, and there's STEM researcher owns an apothecary God. And there are lots of and these I wrote it down. I said I'm going to remember this actress's name, and I have lost where I wrote her name down. But the woman that plays God is amazing as well. Absolutely
Mm.
flawless from the different personalities. It was very much like in Orphan Black, where a character came back in like episode 8, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad they gave that actress, more of a role. They brought her back, and then watched
Yeah.
another scene and went, wait, it's the same sodding actress. And I just had this whole brain state of like, no, that's a completely different character. It's a completely different actor. Very similar to this. Like, you forget that it's the same actor and playing these very, very different roles. I've forgotten. This started as a sentence, and I've forgotten what the sentence is. Anyway, we meet her, and she's various forms are trying to encourage Manuel to accept that this guy is going to help her move forward and finally let go of her anger and get ready to move on to the afterlife. And a lot of this story, therefore, is based in like death and repentance and the idea of not necessarily forgiving people, but letting go of the
Mm.
need to be angry at them, and it being more important to be what someone needs than what someone wants. And sorry, I just remembered the ending and got sad. It's not a happy ending, but it's a very satisfying ending. It's the ending that they tell you right from the start. This is about her moving into the afterlife. So you're watching this romance develop, but you know that it's going to end with her moving on to the afterlife. And that is not a spoiler. That is genuinely from the first episode. They're telling you that. And I
Mm.
tell you as well this, my dear listeners, because I was hoping right to the last episode that they were going to do some kind of bait and switch on us and find some way for it not to have happened. But yeah, no, I think it's the right decision though, and I think that you'll enjoy it. And the story, it's one of those like the journey is more important than the destination. We meet
Mm.
the other people in the hotel. There are 3, apart from like the ghosts that are in the hotel. We have a scholar from the Joseon era, a manager who I think she was from like 1910 or something, and then the bellhop who was killed in one of the Korean civil wars when it was still North and South Korea. And we get each of their stories, and bit by bit you learn about them as people, and they warm up because at the start they are not happy with this human manager coming in. They are not happy with this bright-eyed boy with his positivity and his trying to change things,
And his Harvard
and
degree.
watching and his Harvard degree. Oh God, you scammer from Harvard coming over here with your stupid. Oh, it's hilarious. Honestly, the relationship between those two, I hope that it's going to be one of those acting partnerships where they come back and do other shows together. I don't think that they will, because I think IU is one of these people who like she cherry picks her roles because she can. So I think she only goes, no, I'm interested in this. I'll do this. Instead of like my boy Sung Hoon, who's like, oh, I'll do another one. Yep, just it's a romance. I'll do it. I'll sign.
To be fair, also
um,
it's also because like she is a very busy singer,
mm, yeah.
so it has to be, if she's acting in a drama, it has to be worth her time, because then she
Mm-hmm.
steps away from songwriting and creating her songs and like
Yeah.
doing her tours and stuff. So she's already a
Mm-hmm.
busy musician, because
Mm-hmm.
IU does sing a particular genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
She's not in a K-pop band or group, like she's a
Yeah.
solo performer, and so it does
Uh-huh.
take a lot for her and it's very time consuming for her. So she's always been
Mm.
very selective of her music. And for those who are also like fans of K entertainment like I am and know it, just to quickly point out that as at when we're recording this, she is still dating Eon Suk, which makes me so
Mm-hmm.
happy because they've been besties since like what, 2016. So
Mm-hmm.
just is awesome. IU deserves all
Yeah.
the joy and happiness after everything that happened. So yeah, I'm just going to say I'm just going to say I understand why she cherry picks our project as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was in absolutely no way a negative. Like all power to her.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
just me
mm-hmm,
as a consumer or something. I was like, but I want more of you acting and things. And it's very rare. Like I'm a huge fan of an old TV show called Highlander, which was inverted commas based off the movies. So I will watch
mm,
anything about immortals and devour it. And I honestly, even if you're not hugely into K dramas and C dramas, I recommend it if you, for example, really had high hopes of the originals, the Vampire Diaries spin off, or gods, anything like that. When you're like, I just want to watch somebody who would be an immortal like I would be an immortal, like 100%. She is wonderful. And like a huge part of the themes of the show. I mean, it's okay, so I can't say this with definition, but there's a huge like link between like the moon and the sun. And in the Korean pantheon, the moon and the sun were lovers who couldn't be together. Now, admittedly, in some stories they were
mm,
also siblings, so this makes the story a little bit shaky. But the way that, oh god, what the boy's name? Gu Chan Song or Gu Chan Seong. I'm having to be extra specially careful with his name because there's a whole thing in the show about his name sounding like something else, and so if I'm probably saying it wrong and saying but yeah, anyway, he's very much like the sunny character, like that whole sort of like grumpy ex sunshine. He's very very sunny and
mm-hmm,
determined, and um, there is so much of like that idea of like the moon and the sun and opposites attract. There's also like little things, like one of the things that's really important to her as as an immortal is food, and like she has this great crush on a celebrity chef, and like food obviously in Korean shows food is always going to be important, but it's also something that's really important in Dalneem's um festivals. Is like there's always like, oh, you eat this at this lunar festival, you eat this at this lunar festival kind of thing. So there's a lot of that kind of thing of like just the mythology and things just like seeping through, and you can read into it as much as you want to. But yeah, that's mostly the early episodes, especially, is him going, you don't make enough money to have this many luxury cars, you need to get rid of your luxury cars, and her finding sneaky ways to make money from dead people, so that she can have nice things and her nice jewelry and her nice clothes and her nice food, because that's how she's been living. And so like one of the huge themes of the show is this sunny character showing her again that it's more important to share food with somebody than to have the most expensive food, and it's more important to spend a moment with somebody you care about than it is to wear the best couture outfits and things like that. And so like the difference between living well as in the capitalist view of what living well is, and living well as in it's the way that it's actually meant as a no, seize every, again, same similar themes to last week of like seize the day, enjoy what time you have on Earth and things like that. Um, so that's one of the main things that runs through the whole series. I'm trying really hard not to talk about the story in this one. I there's a degree to which it's episodic, but it's episodic with these releases of lore about how Manwol's people ended up dead and what she did that is seen as a bad thing, which not that bad. Um, there's people that are reincarnated, and like, how we talk about oh Christ, I can't even remember his name, Shen Yurong from The Double, about how utterly loathsome he was. He has fair competition in Mira in this, because this one she's like she's the girl that the nice guys ended up with when he was abroad. She stole from him and like did all the girly things that, you know, just cute girls do. Like, oh my god, you know, sure, I cheated on you, but I mean, you understood, right? And she comes back to Korea and just moves in with him and his friend, and it's like, no, screw you, tell her to fuck off. Why is she still in the show? And then you realize that she's the reincarnation of the person who did Manuel dirty in the past. It's like, oh, that's why she's still in the show. Okay, fair enough. Why has she not been punished yet? And I'm definitely going to spoiler at this point. I would say again, this might be a point if you definitely want to go in with no spoilers, go watch the show, come back. 16 episodes, I think. I'll still be waiting. It's fine. Okay, great. You're either back or you're been here the whole time and you think I'm insane. So this woman's comeuppance is that the guy who was Manuel's bestie in the past and has been reincarnated into a cop, they end up together. And so the idea is that she's making it up to him in this life. She's going to be his boyfriend and his girlfriend, and make life better for him by being in a loving relationship. And oh, that struck me the wrong way. Just that struck every fucking chord in my. So I had a bit of an issue with that. But it's that
Sorry,
whole the actors doing.
sorry, Holly. Could you go back a bit?
Yeah.
I missed what you said. You
Sorry,
you
I
said you
went into
had
a
a bit of
rage.
an issue with. Yeah, so please, I apologize for taking you back, but could you like explain what you
No, it's
just
fine.
said again?
It's
Okay.
entirely possible, Noria, that I became completely incoherent. This character, this character's supposed comeuppance is that she is going to make it up to the guy who she killed in a past life.
Yeah.
And quite apart from the fact that she's a manipulative camel the whole way through the series, that
Oof.
doesn't. Why should this guy. Yeah, again, I'm going incoherent. I'm trying to explain this without descending into PTSD fueled rage. She basically just, the character is perfectly played, very well portrayed. If you were ever bullied by a girl at university or school who got the guy and the guys just put up with her bullshit and you hated it, maybe skip this one because there were triggering moments. And she does, and I kept
Mm.
waiting for her to get a better comeuppance, and she doesn't. Her comeuppance is that she's gonna make this guy's life better, and it's like, but she won't, though, will she? Nothing in this show has shown us that she is capable of being a decent human being. The
Hmm.
rage, Noria, the rage. Anyway, am I about like getting up to my time? I don't want to start repeating myself. But I also don't
Mm.
want to give too much away because this one, it really is the journey. It's the things that are happening that really make the show. It's beautifully made. I know that Nori and I will talk more about it in a bit, but like, yeah, absolutely beautiful. The cinematography and, oh my goodness, whoever was in charge of costumes, mwah, please, dress me. It's a
They
fantastic
did give
show.
IU some really fantastic outfits because I
Yeah.
remember, I think I only watched like the first two episodes before I was like, I was going to
Mm-hmm.
come back later. And later
Mm-hmm.
never happened. So definitely this is my kick in the ass to actually get back to
Yeah.
finishing the drama. But I do
Yeah.
remember like the couple of outfits I saw that they dressed Manuel in. She looked
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous. Oh my god,
Yeah.
gorgeous. She has
Yeah.
expensive taste, and I was just like, girl, I feel you because if also I'm all stuck on earth, fixing shit and being
Mm.
stuck looking becoming the caretaker of this hotel as well, I am also going to be all like, give me my expensive tastes, right?
Right.
Money cannot buy
And I know that we're
eternity, but at
supposed
least money can buy comfort for now.
exactly, and I know we're supposed to be all like, oh, it's a sign that she's become shallow, but also she looks really good.
Really, really good. Really, really good.
But yeah, I'm gonna stop there because I honestly, I'm gonna get stuck in a praise circle, and I don't think I'm being particularly coherent. The important things about this show are that it's fantastic. The end of it gets a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna be a bit niche here. There's a YouTuber I adore called Diamanda Hagen, and she is a huge Doctor Who fan, but mainly like of old Who. She's not a big fan of new Who. And she refers
Hmm.
to David Tennant's exit from the show as the David Tennant Parade of Death. And the last, because it's just like, it's so in its own ass, maudlin, going from place to place. Oh my god, I'm still dying, which is not in the spirit of the show at all. The last episode of this show, that's all I could think of. All I could think of was David Tennant's Parade of Death, because you get so, everybody has a goodbye, and it's beautifully done, and the actors do it fantastically. But oh my god, I was sobbing, absolutely sobbing. So again, if you have depression and you feel like, you know what, I don't want to watch it. Don't watch it. The show is good enough on its own that you can know what the ending is without depressing yourself. And it will still be, I genuinely think it'll still be as good. Just the importance of how important an oath is, and how important your promises are, and that you should let go of the shit that's hurting you, that other people have caused on you, because it hurts you, it damages you more than it damages them. Which is, you know, a lesson I didn't need thrown in my face, because it's very apt, but, you know, we are all growing. And as I said, I'm going to stop now, because I'm just talking in circles about how much I love this show. And I promise, I write notes, guys. I write notes. Do I follow them? No. There is no coherence to me at all. So I'm going to hand over to Noria.
So, Holly already has taken you through what happened with Hotel de Luna, so you have a general idea of what the show is about. I, on the other hand, watched Mystic Pop-Up Bar. Now, I'm going to state outright that there is yeah, that sound was me, because like, oh, I love this show so much. I'm going to state right off the bat that trigger warning for suicide mention and actual suicide. So 500 years ago, right, we had the character called Wuju. Wuju was a young, innocent girl. Innocent, bright-eyed, just kindness personified. She had a heart of gold. And she had this magical ability where she's able to enter people's dreams and soothe their nightmares. So, you know, for example, the mother whose mother-in-law apparently was nagging her because where they buried her, she was not getting enough sunlight, right? So her mother-in-law's spirit had been showing up in her dreams, just giving her nightmares. So it's Wuju would go into these people's dreams and soothe whatever spirit, whatever agitated spirit is keeping them awake, and basically help ease their pain. The spirits are happy, people are happy, but please remember that people are very capricious, and they might be happy for now, but they are not always happy, which is always okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take it one step at a time. Now, basically, because of how well she does, our fame and popularity grows, and eventually reaches the ears of the queen, who has a bit of a problem because the crown prince has been stuck in this dream state, having nightmares, and he's not waking up. She's gone to the sacred tree, which is this tree right outside their village where, you know, they go to hang their prayers and blessings and hope that sometimes some of their prayers are answered, right? So she's been praying at the tree with no results. One of our attendants then mentions that she heard about this young girl, you know, back in their village called Wuju, who has the ability to enter people's dreams. She has 100% success rate, right? And the queen calls her over. Wuju, you know, goes into the crown prince's dreams and tells the queen that, oh, there are a lot of estranged, agitated, pissed spirits that born from people that the royal family have wronged from the past, who have decided to latch onto the dreams of the crown prince. And so the only way for him to wake up is for them to soothe those spirits' grievances so that they can all depart. Now, if it is that you read or follow any form of historical fiction stories about any royal family throughout histories, you know that they have a long list of enemies. They always do. They always do. Especially people that they wrongfully hurt or kill. Once again, you would consider this premonition, foreshadowing, for example, but Wuju has a heart of gold, like I already established at the start. And so she's all like, okay, the queen was like, what exactly can we do? And Wuju is like, I'm going to come every night and I'm going to like speak to each of the spirits to soothe the crown prince so that he can wake up. And she does just that. right? She does just that. He wakes up, is tutors and even the attendants are all like, the prince is here, but it feels odd because he's always just randomly staring into space and smiling. Spoiler alert, the prince is in love, right? Because that's a love struck expression if I've ever seen one. Anybody would look at that face and be like, that boy is in love. But everybody was still being in all denial and stuff. And then, as in gratitude for what Wuju did, the queen basically rewards her handsomely. Wuju initially is like, she does not want any of these things. She's just happy that she was able to help. But the queen was like, oh no, I have to express my gratitude. Because once again, the royal families like this always believe that, you know, any favor or work done for them must come with some sort of monetary benefit. I also think it's so that, you don't come back and say, I helped you and you all did not pay me and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it just shows that they have a very transactional view of the world. Now, um, Wuju goes back to the village, and you can understand why she was reticent about accepting all those gifts, because what does it mean when the daughter of a shaman who is a dream whisperer comes back with jade and silk and things of so much value? It breeds jealousy. And in the space of jealousy, gossips like come to bear, and they started gossiping. People start gossiping about her. Basically, they basically imply that, oh, she served the prince as his bed warmer, because why else is she getting all these gifts? Right now, her mother, who, like I said, who is a shaman, is worried about her daughter and basically sends her away, right? But had sent her away while dressing her in her mother's clothes, even down to the hairpin that only married women would ideally like put in their hair and hold up their hair. So she does that. She gives her daughter this pin and she's like, hold on to this whenever you need help, or whenever you're in need, help would surely find you if you hold tightly to this pin and ask for it. So her mother sends her away, tells her to go out of the city. And she's made it she's made it practically far away when she looks back and realizes that something is burning, like the town is burning. But not the town, specifically her home. By the time she gets there, her home is on fire and her mother has been killed. Her mother has been stabbed, right? And in her grief, Wuju is so upset that in her grief, she curses the entire village, and then she goes to the same sacred tree where everybody goes to place their wishes and pray, and she hangs herself on that tree. Her mother's hairpin that she had clenched in her fist drops and shatters the ground. And then we fast forward to 500 years later. She's now played by Wang Jong-hum, and runs a Punjagmansha, that's a neighborhood bar. You know those movable bars that just have like some sort of canopy, and you can go in. They've set up a kitchen area, a place where you can eat and all of that and drink and everything else. So she's running a Punjagmansha 500 years in the future, where, and you see that she's actively trying to get people to tell them their problems. Now, the way in which we fast forward and do the reveal is so interesting and fascinating to me, because there's such a direct contrast between Wujul as a young woman, right? Wujul as a young woman with a heart of gold, who is very soft spoken and wants to help people and is driven by kindness. And then Wujul as the 500-year-old, not really woman, because she's no longer human, clearly, being, I would call her a 500-year-old being or entity that is very cheeky, very abrasive, right? Like Mawul in Hotel de Luna is very cool, calm, collected, right? Because she uses that as a way, like you said, she uses that way to, the show uses that to show how far, like how self-absorbed she's becoming because of all the time she spent with humanity. Wujul has lost any sort of semblance of patience for humanity. She's brash, she's loud, she's always fighting. Like her solution is Take the damn drink. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm trying to help your life. What is
Mm-hmm.
wrong with you? Listen to me. Let me listen to you, or rather. And so, unfortunately, right, we see the sign on her store. It says 49, no, 999,990, right? Souls. So apparently she's aiming for 100,000 souls. She's aiming for 100,000 souls. Um to For which that is when she's basically getting the chance to atone for what she's done and get reincarnated. Now, what is it that she's done? Because I'm certain if anybody is listening to what I've said so far, you're like, but Wuju was not in the wrong in any way. And I agree. I was very upset because I'm like, girl, I would have done worse. Like, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why she's, and all of that. But you'll find out why later in the drama. Um, but she's currently 10 souls short of hitting 100,000 souls. And you can tell why, because also she's been, apparently for the last 500 years, she spent the last 500 years having to serve a punishment of she needs to settle the grudges of 10 of 100,000 humans. She needs to settle their grudges so that they can move on about their lives. It's when she's done so that she can then earn her forgiveness and be reincarnated. Now,
Mm-hmm.
all of this is happening, right? She runs the pop-up bar, and alongside her is manager Gui, who is played by the delectable Choi Won Young. Ah,
Giggle.
I love him.
He's so good.
He is so good. Um, so Choi Won Young is her manager, or rather, not even a manager, her assistant, right? He's both supervisor and manager, but basically he's meant to watch over her, but she treats him like a full-on servant and subordinate, and he lives for it, even though,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes he likes to pretend, but he lives for it. He basically works as an assistant, like I said, in the bar. And then there is An Kang Bae. An Kang Bae is played by the adorable Yuk Sung Jae. Like, if every time I see Yuk Sung Jae, I just want to reach into the screen and pinch his cheeks because he's so cute. I'm like, you're so adorable. You're so cute. You're so cute. Like, I want to use the same voice I used to talk to my cat to talk to him every time I see him on screen, because that is what he does to me and for me, right? So basically, Kang Bae is unfortunate in the sense that ever since he was a kid, is had this ability where when he touches people's hands, they feel compelled to tell him their life story. Like, he does not ask. Usually he tries actively to avoid them because he does not want to hear anything that they have to say. But if accidentally is touched, they just explain everything. And so at the start of the drama, he meets up with his former classmates, and whilst they're having lunch, like, he accidentally touches him, and that's how the former classmate speaks about how, nobody else in their class is picking up his calls because of this whole, because everybody knows that he's currently in an MLM business, right? So a multi-level marketing type business where you gain like your rewards, right? You gain your commissions based off of the people you can get to join, and everybody is tired, and everybody has basically blocked him. And so he basically talks about how it's been so hard, and that's the only reason why he's even talking to Kang Bae, because everybody knows Kang Bae is fucking weird and Kang Bae doesn't have any friends, so like that's the only reason why, and all of that. And what happens is what happens to everybody that touches Kang Bae. They bare their heart to him, and then a lot of them react with anger at him for them telling him their secret desires. Like, they feel like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he brought it on in some way. Yes, sure, it's his ability,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also very sad because at the same time, I'm like, you just trauma dumped on this young boy, and
Mm-hmm.
your go-to response, rather than take ownership of these are the thoughts and these are the feelings I have, is to not is like their go-to is not to focus on those thoughts, but instead to find a way to blame the person that they just shared or poured their heart out to. So Kangbe has
Mm-hmm.
not had it easy at all. And um you know there's he has like he currently does he has a day job, right? And he works at a supermarket, right? A big supermarket chain. And one of his class and one of his colleagues who basically works in the frozen meat section where she sells like, premium beef and all of that. And like she works as like the the attendants that basically cut up the meat, and in this case she like fries it so that people that want to buy said meat get to taste it before they're like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
this tastes really good, let me have the rest of it, right? So she makes
Mhm.
sample pieces right there as an attendant. That's also part of her job. And at the supermarket, now this is the same person that when we fast forward to the future, 500 years into the future, we see in the pop-up bar that um Wuju is trying to get to confess and say what is bothering her. Sorry,
Mhm.
excuse me. But this girl refuses to say anything. And Wuju, who has zero patience, is all like, because initially Wuju was like, oh, have a drink, it's on the house, blah, blah, blah. When she realizes this girl is not saying anything, she's like, what do you mean by that? Clearly you're upset and you're refusing to say anything. Pay me my money and get out. And the girl is like, boy, you told me it was official. I was like, I do not care. Pay me my money and get out. Like, that's the kind of person that Wuju is. Now, this girl also works in the same supermarket at Kangbe. And whilst all of this is happening and everything, right? The girl, like I said, she makes sample pieces, and there's this customer that walks up and basically steals all the meat like that she's making, and still like slaps her with like raw meat. Like it's just the most entitled, disgusting thing. And then when
Mhm.
she reacts, he demands, like he's all like, he's going to demand for her to no. So first he's slapping her with it and he's trying to hit her.
Mhm.
Wuju, who once again is not really human, basically flings him away with like superhuman strength. Manager agrees, like, calm down, calm down. Remember, he works like as an assistant, a glorified assistant. So it's like pulling her away because she has a short temper and she's always like, I'm going to beat people because what on earth is wrong with you? And
Mhm.
then the piece of shit customer basically tried to get like, was trying to force the girl Miran. He tried to force
Mhm.
her, like he basically had, because her supervisors came and he was trying to force her to apologize, and she was not having any of it, right? She was not having any of it.
Mhm.
So she storms away. Now, this is the person that I said that Kangbe works with, and Kangbe has already noticed that previously this girl almost walked directly into traffic because clearly there was a lot of things going on for her. She almost walked into like she walked straight into the path of an incoming truck, the famed
Mhm.
K drama truck of doom, and Kangbe basically jumped into the street and like stopped the truck just in time before it hit her. So clearly she has a lot
Mhm.
that is like she has a lot that she's going through, which Kanpe
Mhm.
cannot like wrap his head around because they are both temporary employees, like project contractual staff. And she's been getting like employee of the month consistently. So all the other contract staff are convinced that she will soon be granted a permanent position. Right. So,
Mhm.
after the almost truck hit and all of that, she makes her way back into the pop-up bar with Kangbe in tow. And as they are trying to serve her drinks, and Wujul is wondering if she's once again going to say, "Oh, nothing is the problem," blah blah blah. When one, they saw her be bullied by her customer, and two, they actually saw her walk into traffic hoping to get hit.
Mhm.
Kangbe touches her, and she immediately starts talking. Which one would you automatically like notices? And she's like, "Aha, got you," right? And so she
Mhm.
starts talking and expresses that what has her so frustrated is because a supervisor has been sexually harassing her at work. And she's the only person who is like she has a younger brother, they don't have any parents, so she's the one that's been responsible for her brother, and she needs the job, and he keeps sexually as harassing her at every turn in the hospital, right? I said the hospital, in
Mhm.
the supermarket. And Wudri
Mhm.
is like, she pours her this special drink that she makes. I call it the dream juice. So she pours her this special
Mhm.
drink that she makes, and she's like, what would Miran want? And Miran is like, she would just love if her supervisor would get a feeling of what it means, like what it feels like to be cornered, to understand how she feels. And she drinks Miran drinks the special dream juice, falls asleep. In her dream, she's in a I would call it like a CCTV room. right? Like it's all cameras and all like all screens, and on the screens are the different instances where her supervisor has been trying to sexually harass her. And this is like the screen room, or this is the CCTV room in their supermarket, right? So clearly the security room in the supermarket. In the supermarket proper, we have her supervisor who is now in her dream, because Wuju has dragged the man into Miran's dreams, and once again, because he's a sleazy piece of shit, he tries to sexually harass her and he's touching her until the person he's touching turns around, and it is not Miran, it is Wuju, and Wuju is there to give him the beating of his life. Like, she terrorized this man. He was running all over the place, kept trying to escape, and she just kept beating him and kept trapping him in different places. It was hilarious up until they get to the roof, and sis just flings him. Like, he tries escaping and running away. So when he okay sorry before he tried to escape, right, she has him trapped, and that is when Kangbe shows up in the dream world. Because you see, Kangbe also had drank with everybody else and was feeling very like tipsy, and he so Wuju had sent him out to go pee with the expectation that once they enter the dream world, he won't be able to find the pop-up bar, because normal regular humans cannot find the pop-up bar. But then he finds the pop-up bar, walks in, sees that Miran is asleep, touches her to try and wake her up, and gets sucked into her dream. And this is when both Wuju and Manager Gui realize that Kangbe is one of those special humans who has his spiritual awareness or spiritual eyesight basically wide open. His connection is pure and straight through. Its connection is pure and straight through, which is why, for example, people always confess their emotions to him and all of that. And that is the reason why. Now, the entire Kangbe showing up suddenly is what surprises slash shocks Wuju temporarily, and the creepy manager basically bails it, like he runs away. Wuju chases after him, sends her pin flying. That's the air pin her mother gave her. She sends it flying to track him, to trap him in place, and then basically flings him off of the ceiling, like off the rooftop. And Kangbe is convinced that this man is dead until he realizes that they are in a dream. And then, of course, they go to go meet Miran, who is trapped in the security room and refusing to come out because she's, of course, very ashamed. And Kangbe is like, you have nothing to be ashamed about. The person who should be ashamed is the man that has been harassing you for months. You did nothing wrong. The person who should be ashamed is the piece of shit man that we just spent all this while torturing and tormenting, and Wuju just flung off of the ceiling. You have nothing to fear, right? And that convinces her to step out of the security room. But while Kangbe gives her, the soft love and all of that, Wuju is there with the tough love. Wuju is like, girl, this is all in a dream. You need to still make sure that piece of shit pays for all of he's done. Like, sure, I tortured him in his dream, but in reality, you need to report him so you know that this man gets the punishment he deserves in real life too. And she promises that she will do just that. So the next day, she goes into work. First, she's met by the rude customer, the one that was stealing meat, who apologizes profusely and all of that and runs away. Turns out that the reason why manager Gui took a while to come into her dream was because he first went into the dream of the customer and spent that night force feeding the customer all the meat. And it's like, clearly, you love meat. You love meat, that you're a thieving piece of shit, that you're going to go and steal meat in sample sizes at supermarkets. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Okay, I'm going to feed you all that meat right now. And was shoving like as much meat as he possibly can down the man's
I
gullet.
love that
So,
man.
and it was so entertaining. And it was just like, next time, make sure you eat all the meat you want in your house before going to make a nuisance of yourself at another person's place of work. Greedy bastard, always wanting meat. Here, eat all the meat you want. So basically, the meat thief, greedy ass person, comes, apologizes, and runs away. Miran reports to her supervisor's boss. Like, so they are the head of the department that this is what has been happening. And that person is like, thank you so much. I'm so sorry that you had to go through with this. We're going to discipline him. I'm also going to take this to the police so that, it's also a criminal case. It would not escape this and all of that. Right now, that of course means that, Wuju's count has bumped up to 999,991 souls. And she's like, yo, the person that helped her get this was Kangbe, because all you had to do was touch that girl, and that girl had no choice but because it apparently it takes a lot for people to, before she can give you the dream juice, she needs to know what your grudge is. And people, not everybody is very open about what they're feeling, right? And so she's like, she needs Kangbe. And Kangbe at the same time finally remembers what happened in the dream. And then he remembers that Manager Gui and Wuju had said that, oh, basically all they need to do to keep him from having to be this receptacle of everybody's emotional day, what should they touch him, is for Wuju to just basically shut the connection he has with the spirit world, and he'll be fine. So he is also running to look for her. Because no, first he goes up to the ceiling of the supermarket, because it's like, is it a dream? Is it real? Only for him to see or find the airpin, Wuju's mother's airpin, where she had tossed it to stop the escaping manager, right? So he grabs the airpin and then he goes running. Wuju goes running because she's looking for him. And as she's running, she hears her mother's voice about if she ever needs help, she should hold on to the airpin that she's giving her and make her wish. And her mother is sure that the person that is meant to help her will certainly come. And just as that last line is said, Kambe shows up and both of them meet each other. And Wuju is like, oh, he wants to give her a pen, and she's like, well, it's not his to give because it's always been hers. And then basically she goes all like, would you like to work for me? And he goes like, would you help me seal off my connection so that I can actually touch people without being their emotional dumping ground. And that is the end of the first episode. I know I've been talking for a long time because a lot of things happened in the first episode, but I don't even think I need to go into other episodes unless except when we're talking like deeper into the story. But the first episode basically explains to you the format that the show takes. Usually it does like a monster case of the week type. It's a case of the week type serial, whereby every episode there's somebody with a grudge that the three have to help solve, and they do so in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they solve it, it counts as one more soul in that Wuju is trying to basically hit the number for. That's basically the basis of the of the entire show. Now, like I mentioned earlier at the start, right? Wuju is played by Wang Jung-hyun. Now, Wang Jung-hyun is somebody that the first time I saw her, or the first drama I saw her. I'm sorry. The first drama I saw her in was the one that she acted in with Jin Sung, Kill Me, Heal Me. And
Mm-hmm.
she was Origin in that one. And first and foremost, the every time I think of Wang Jung-hyun, I just think of her screaming Shinsegi in that drama. Because if you've watched Kill Me, Heal Me, then you know the kind of actress that Wang Jung-hyun is. That is basically her bread and butter. She does this very screeching, too energy, too loud. Just sometimes she it takes a while for her to grow on you type character. That's the kind of character she always plays. She almost always plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was her in Kill Me, Ill Me. That was the character she played in She Was Pretty. Like, it just, every single time, I'm always like, ugh, girl, can you take it down a couple of notches? So when I saw her in Mystic Pop-Up Bar, I was just like, oh my God, she's about to give me a migraine, because she's going to be screaming and all of that. And she once again brings in the eye energy, because clearly she's a very physical actress. Wang Jung-hyun acts with like her entire body. It's not just her expression, it's her hands, it's her body, it's the way she moves and all of that. So usually directors, when they are looking for somebody in that kind of high energy, high octane role, they like to cast her in it, or they like to write those roles with her in mind, because she brings that energy to it. And I was prepared, because I was like, yo, especially with the cast, like with everybody that is paired up paired up with her, right? Cho Won Young is a very calm, very calm, quiet, not quiet, but like steady type actor. And like I said, Yuk Sun Jae is always adorable. So I was just like, high energy, very calm, adorable. It just did not mix. But this show made it work. I honestly
Mhm.
think that
Mhm.
Mystic Pop-Up Bar is a show that took the best, the strength, everything that Wang Jung-hyun does very well. Like everything that makes her a brilliant actress, and then it ramps it up to 1,000. Because there's the
Mhm.
physical comedy, there's the way in which she moves, but then there are the moments where she's giving you eye energy in 1 minute, and then by the time the grudges are revealed, she mellows in this incredible way. It's brilliant.
Mhm.
It's brilliant. I honestly cannot see any other actress being able to do both. Right?
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
think there are any other actress like her that can bring that high energy, sometimes very cringy, that this role needed. But then in the next
Mhm.
minute, you're weeping your eyes out because she's let a bit of that. And then you find out that all of that is just, it's armor that she's like, pulled on herself over the last 500 years.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's throughout the course of the drama that you understand that you basically we unravel the tragedy of her young life, and why this is what she's doing in her afterlife. And that is when you realize that, okay, it's possible. This is why it makes sense that Wuju, who was a young child in this particular way, this is who she's become now. So I loved it. I loved it. And I know you talked about the
Mhm.
theme, like some of the themes in Hotel de Luna. And I think for me, for Mystic Pop-Up Bar, the themes were basically, it's a drama about appreciating the little things, right? It's a
Mhm.
drama that tells you that you're going to experience heartache. People would break your heart, people would disappoint you, and you might even disappoint others in turn. But the one thing that everybody needs is just good company, somebody who they can talk to, be honest with, bear their heart to, someone who can sit and have a drink with them and commiserate with them. And that ultimately all we can do is just try and live our lives as good as we can possibly do so, to live a
Mhm.
little bit of good in the world, because you never can tell what the heavens would judge your actions as, right? You never can
Mhm.
tell if something little that you thought was dismissive and did not matter much. You never can tell how drastically it can change your life, how drastically
Mhm.
it can change things for you. And I really, really love that. I really, really love that as a messaging, because simple.
Mhm.
It's so simple. All the grudges are human related grudges, and they are a variety of them, right? There's a mother who has raised a daughter all her life and is dying and does not know how to express, like, let her daughter know that she's not even a biological mother, that she sort of, because of her words, led to the death of her daughter's biological mother, right? There is an ancestor who is competing in a who gets to compete in a game, right, on the other side in the afterlife, for the chance to, like, gift his descendants winning lottery numbers. And he does. He fights like hell to get his descendants that lottery number. But then he does not consider it anything, because he finds out that his descendants, his great grandson, is set to die. And then he then becomes, he doesn't need this number. What he needs are is good deeds. Is good deeds to help save the life of his, because as far as he's concerned, the numbers, the wealth means nothing if his great grandson is dead. And then you find out that, oh, the person who can help with the winning lottery number, like the good deeds that they need in order to top up the good needs to save, the great grandson, turns out to be the best friends of, his great granddaughter or his granddaughter, right? who ends up being, of course, said great grandson's grandmother. Sorry, it's confusing and all of that. But basically, her best friend is just over there and it's like, of course, she's going to give good deeds. Like, that's her bestie. She needs to save her bestie's grandson. She can't let the poor boy
Mm-hmm.
die. And, it's so funny because you had the grandson being all grumpy because the lottery numbers really did not amount to anything, because of course they traded that for the chance for him to live. But
Mm-hmm.
his grandmother had always had a bad back, like a very bad back. And her friend knew that, right? And a friend came and was comforting her and had a little bit of the good deeds that she had saved, and she used that to cure her bestie's back. And when the grandson realizes that his grandmother's back is cured, he's like, this is better. Like, this is better than the fucking lottery numbers. Who needs money?
Mm-hmm.
Your back is good. That is great. Like, that scene just made me cry because
Mm-hmm.
as a society, we are programmed to believe that money is the answer to everything that we need. And instead, it's just all we need is good health, good friends, good food, moments of joy, something to live
Mm-hmm.
for. Everything else is secondary. And that is what Mystic Pop-Up Bar at its core is about. And I really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really love it as a drama. It's so good.
Yay. No, I'm so glad because I was like this. That's what was when I was like trying to think of a theme for the show and episodic themes. I
Mm.
was like, okay, this show would work really well as a counter to Hotel Del Luna. I'm watching
Yes,
Hotel Del Luna. You watch that one, so I'm really glad you loved it because yeah, I can remember when I was watching it. Just it's such a special show, and like it's very
it
interesting the way
is.
that like at their core they have the same kind of character build up of like the kind of number of characters, the kind of mythology that they're dealing into, and
Yeah.
yet they are so very different, and like the way that
Yeah.
they approach it, and like the difference between this kind of woman who has absolutely no patience, as you say, because humanity has to deal with people every single day and their
Hmm.
stupid fucking problems, versus Manuel, who is that step away from humanity, who has been dealing in
Hmm.
death, and therefore has it
Yes.
feels above humanity and better than humanity until she has her character arc. And so
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I can see that because yeah, if you have to work with people, people are gonna piss you off. That's what the retail
They
industry is all
will.
about.
They will. Like, it's so funny because it's still in episode 1 when
Hmm.
because the complaint is that it's been 500 years and she's not cleared her 100,000 debt, like grudges,
Hmm.
which, by the way, when I was watching it, I was like, you all must be delusional. 500 years is so short a time to handle 100,000 grudges. That means that this woman was
Hmm.
resolving, that means that she was resolving 2,000 grudges. 2,000 grudges a year for us to be like, oh yeah, 500, right? Is it 2,000
Hmm.
grudges? It's 2,000 grudges, right?
Oh, don't ask me to do maths.
Yeah. Yeah, because 2,000 grudges. Because if it's 50 years, that would
Hmm.
be no, 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 sorry, 200 grudges a year. Am I right? Yes, it should be 200 grudges a year. Sorry, because math, just in case anybody cannot tell, math is not our strong point. But all I'm looking at is
We do
moving the
words.
zeros, right? So if we say
Hmm.
200, right? If we add an extra zero to that, that is 2,000. If we add
Hmm.
another zero to that, that's now 100 zeros, right? That is then 20,000. So times five, that's you get 100,000. So 200 grudges a year.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's almost a grudge a work day. That's like one grudge
Hmm.
every work day. Like, come on, she's doing great. But they were all like, she's not doing anything. And um Wuju was like, flashing back to the different ways in which she's helped people and the different people she's helped. And there's this one of, this woman that is like, she's been waiting for her husband, clearly ancient times, right? She's been like, I think it's Joseon era. She's been waiting for her husband. He went to take the exams like almost 3-4 years ago. Who is to tell? What if it is that, oh my God, what if it is that husband has already died? What if it is that he's already remarried and he's not even coming back for her? She
Hmm.
refuses to wait for him. And um um Wuju keeps trying to get her to like, no, you need to wait for your husband, because clearly she knows that this girl will be rewarded as being a virtuous wife because her husband
Mm-hmm.
is almost around. Like her husband was literally going to be showing up the next day, but this girl was like, nope. She's tired. Fuck men. She's not doing any of that. Oh, yeah. There's that magistrate down the street that's always liked her. She's totally going to put the moves on him that night. And Wujo basically forces the dream juice down her throat. And by the time the girl wakes up, she's like bound and in chains. And then there's the old trumpet because her husband has returned and all of that. And she's like, ha! I can just imagine Wuju throughout the years being all like, I know what is better for you. Humans, listen to
Mm-hmm.
me. And people being all like, you don't know shit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. There's something about having to deal with very human people and very human issues that
Mm-hmm.
I can totally understand why she got very impatient, because
Mm-hmm.
I've not even spent a tenth of the time that she spent, and I'm already frustrated of people. Like I can imagine myself in my 90, in the night, in like as 90 or 80, shaking like a walk stick and being all like, get off my lawn, get those children off my
Mm-hmm.
lawn, right? And that is me already thinking that I'm slowly getting to that
Mm-hmm.
point. I can just imagine having to deal with this for another 500 years. I would be frustrated as hell as well.
I want to put a shout out to the way, like we've talked about, like the way that the mythology is put out. I really like both of the Grim Reapers in both of these shows. I vaguely remember the one, the actor who plays the Grim Reaper in Noria's show in Mystic Pop Up Bar is, I'm currently watching him as a eunuch in, oh god, what's it's called? It's like the Joseon Little Inn or something. I can't remember what it's called. Very good show. Probably going to be used in a future episode. And he's fantastic in that, and it's a completely different performance. And the Reaper in Hotel Del Luna, I really hope that Noria isn't also talking and we just can't hear each other because that would be awkward. Um, the Reaper in Hotel Del Luna is gorgeous. Really hope I
Mm,
see that actor in more stuff because he is just absolutely delectable. And again, very different portrayal of the Reaper, and yet also that kind of thing of like being able to portray somebody who is not human, who is separate from human, who sympathizes with humans, but cannot fully understand them. And just like I mean, I grew up on Pratchett. I've always loved the Grim Reaper as a character and as an entity and as a concept. Um, and I
mm,
loved, yeah, I
mm.
love both of them. Love both of them shows, and I honestly once, because I don't think Nori doesn't tend to do spoilers as much as I am. So when we finish this, I'm going to ask you for so many details of storylines that happened in Mystic Pop Up Bar that I saw the start of, and then when I lost Netflix, I haven't seen the end of, and therefore, so I'm going to be like, so did this happen? Did this happen?
It's so cool though. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also wondering, what did you think of the supporting cast? Like clearly Mystic Pop-Up Bar, like Hotel de Luna, had like
Mm-hmm.
central characters, right? They were always
Yep.
characters that are central to the story and central to the plot.
Yep.
And then every other person we can say is a supporting character. So what did you think of with regards to the supporting characters for Hotel de Luna, right? Because I can go first with regards. I can go first with
Oh yeah, sure.
regards
Go
mine.
ahead.
And I also had a question about the what your thoughts were about the villain. Like, is there a villain in Hotel de Luna? Because we did have a villain in Mystic Purple Bar, and I kind of had a
Mm-hmm.
problem, a tiny bitty problem.
Ooh,
But let
tell
me
me about your
first.
problem.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying, tell me about your problem. I was just egging you on.
Okay. Okay. So, I think for me, Mystic Purple Bar had there's just something about the cast of characters and actors that they brought in that just elevates the story, right? That just brings
Mm-hmm.
makes everything come full circle because everybody played their role to perfection, right? So Dahyun was Kang Yorin. Kang Yorin is this girl, right? The first time we see her was when the trio were basically helping to settle a young man's grudge. His grudge was that he has been applying to a particular hotel because he studied hotel management, right? And he's been applying to a particular kind of like our guy in Hotel de Luna,
Mm-hmm.
except that he didn't go to
Mm-hmm.
Harvard. but but he had been, he had been applying, studying, like applying for to get to gain entrance into this hotel, and he was certain that his third attempt was the best, because he was like, as far as it was concerned, he answered all, he did the, it was perfect with the written questions, and it was perfect with the interview, but he did not get called back in. And this was already affecting his relationship. He decided to break up with his girlfriend, because even though she was loyal and, she was sticking with him and all of that, he just felt very bad that she's paying his rent and she's paying his food, and he can't take her to, like, great places like she wants to eat, or even take her, like, even he can't even afford to take her to a hotel room, which was what she wanted him to. And so he broke up with her, and he was just feeling very bad. And so, our trio basically go into his dreams and find out, like, he did ace the interviews as far as they were concerned. But the owner of the hotel was basically giving all the spots to, the kids
Mm-hmm.
of his friends, business partners, assemblymen, people in
Mm-hmm.
politics. Like, so basically, it was not, nobody, people were not being hired on merit. The reason why they made
Mm-hmm.
it seem like, oh, you could get a chance, was so that the public would think that, oh, everybody got a, like, everybody was given equal opportunity to get access to this,
Mm-hmm.
but that was not the case, right? And so the
Mm-hmm.
trio, wanted set out to expose him. And my darling Dahyun, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was nodding. I
Okay.
forgot that you can't see me nodding.
Yeah, because I just wanted to confirm that my internet is still good. So
Yeah.
my darling Dayun, who plays Kang Yurin, she plays in the show. She's a bodyguard. She's a bodyguard. She's a really good fighter, and she's a bodyguard of this hotel person, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
job to protect him. But she was like trying to get her supervisor to move her to someone else, because she was like, this man is trash, this man is vile, I cannot believe I'm being forced to protect this man. This man is
Mm-hmm.
vile. And our boss is like, we don't get to choose, you're a bodyguard, act your role, blah blah blah. And
Mm-hmm.
when our trio, basically, it's Kangbe. Kangbe is the one that is and that escapes, the man's office with the evidence that they need to nail him. She catches him, and he basically begs her and explains that what this man is doing is wrong, blah blah blah, and everything else. And she lets him go, but she's caught, and she even gives him her employee ID so that he can, like, use the back exit to make his escape. But the CCTV does catch her, and she loses the job, and she finds herself working at the supermarket with Kang Bei. She is this, that Hyun plays her as, she's written as this very no nonsense person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because it's later on in the show that you find out that she also has a heart of gold. She's also very soft and very sensitive. The only problem is that every single boy that she's ever liked, anytime she's attempted to just touch their hands, they get the chills from her. Like, they called her creepy as a child. Everybody avoided her and all of that. The minute she's like, oh, she likes this boy, best believe that the boy is avoiding her. Kangbe, on the other hand, is delighted because she touched him and she was not trauma dumping. Like, she was the only person that ever touched him and did not trauma dump. And he was the only boy that, she ever touched that did not get the chills. Clearly a perfect fit, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
loved watching their relationship. I just kept shouting, adorable, adorable. You two are so adorable at my screen. It was delightful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also loved Lee Jun Hyuk. Yes, so it's Lee Jun Hyuk. Lee Jun Hyuk was the one that was basically playing as, like, Death, as one of, like, Death in the
Mm-hmm.
in the show, and I think he was great as Death. Even,
Superb actor.
he was kind of like pseudo part of their family, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Um, and I even loved the Yom Hiran was like the mistress, the goddess of the underworld. She was the one that was basically assigning judgments and all of that. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
not the Jade Emperor, right? The Jade Emperor rules the heavens and also is her boss, right? But she was playing as the mistress of the underworld, and she was just fantastic. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
power suits. I really appreciated her power suits. The only
Yes.
concern I have with the drama was
Mm-hmm.
Kim Won Hyung, the character played by Nain Hu, because that was the villain. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I did not think Mystic Pop Up Bar needed it. I know that,
Mm-hmm.
I know why. I know the role he served, and we can go into details about, like, because that's like spoiler territory. We can go into details later on
Mm-hmm.
in the episode. But like, he just, how do I explain it? I found him very, I just, it just felt like it was a very one note villain. I like my
Mm-hmm.
villain with, you know, interesting bits. I like my villains having a couple of redeeming qualities. Not redeeming qualities, but you see elements of slight humanity in them. And then you tell yourself that, okay,
Yeah.
if only things had gone like a separate way, they might have taken another path. But this is the path they've
Mm-hmm.
chosen because of certain reasons, right? Give me villains that do not feel one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And which is I guess for me why I was so upset, because all the characters in the show add depth. They add layers, every single one of them. Even Kangbe, that you thought was just a surface level, nice, cutie, sweet boy, had layers. Talk less of Wuju,
Mm-hmm.
talk less of
Mm-hmm.
Manager Gui. Even the fucking ass mistress of the dead, all of them had layers. Death had layers. But then our villain, Kim Won Hyung, had none. It was just a one trick, one note pony for the entirety of the drama. I'm just grateful that he was not there at the very start. Like, they only started
Sure.
fully focusing on him by, like, say, episode 8, and it's a 12 episode
Mm-hmm.
drama. So clearly I only needed
Mm-hmm.
to, like, put up with him for like 5 episodes. But those 5 episodes felt too
Mm-hmm.
fucking long for me, because I was just like, you have no depth. Initially, I was watching
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh, it would be great to see what layers, the drama gives him as we follow along in his story. I was looking forward to what would be revealed about him, but we got nothing, and it irked me. It irked me because
Mm-hmm.
it was otherwise every other person had such good depth, and he was just bland all the way through, just your typical villain. And I felt like the drama could have
Sure.
done better than that.
Yeah, I understand that. I completely do. I'm sorry. I was thinking because Hotel Del Luna doesn't really have a villain. It has Mira, she's a prick, and she was a villain in the past, but that was in her previous life. And there's a brief dalliance over about three or four episodes with a serial killer, but he's not a villain, and he's not going to be able to stop the inexorable march of time and fate and what must happen. Um, Sorry, my cat's back. Um, but I think, yeah, they don't go the villain route, and I think that's an interesting difference between the two shows. You are really distracting me. Shush. Um, but no, the casting is superb.
Kitten has thoughts.
Absolutely superb.
Kitten has thoughts because she
She has
also watched
thoughts.
Hotel de Luna,
Exactly. She
and
watched
it's
over my
about
shoulder. She's like, "Have you talked about
she
that yet?
watched it with
Have you
you,
talked
and
about
so
the cute
she's
Reaper
she's
yet?"
like, yeah, she's like, are you mentioning all the things I asked you to? Are you mentioning what happened in this episode and that episode and with that character? I remember I said that I did not approve of this particular decision of this particular character. Make sure that they hear you. Make sure that my voice must be heard. I cannot be silent. That's what Kitten is doing right now. So, like, Kitten, we understand.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
But yeah, no, the casting is superb. I honestly, there is no one that I would change. I actually wrote down, I didn't write down the Reaper, which I think I might have saved his profile somewhere from his Wiki profile, so I can follow him. Whereas I've written it down right. Kang Min Na, who plays Yuna, who's she's a ghost who was killed by bullies basically, and she possesses the body of a young girl who tried to kill herself. Oh, sorry, who tried to kill herself. So she's basically in an isekai on her own, and she has a crush on the bellhop character, and their relationship is really beautiful and really heartbreaking, and
Oh,
you get the impression that she intends to become a hotel manager, even if she can't be hotel a supernatural one. She still wants to do that, to help people, to be in a service industry. Um, at its core kind of thing, and she's being tutored by all of the other characters to one degree or other, and they're all very indulgent of her, and there are bits where she's putting herself in danger trying to be the main character basically, but it's there's a very sort of tongue-in-cheekness, the show knows that that's what she's doing, and that if this was a show for her age group, she would be the main character, but she's not. She's too young. So it never gets to the point that it's annoying. Like, it never gets to a point of, like, you know, the YA thing where you're going, just tell an adult. Tell an adult, because she does. She's sensible. You know, there are these points where you're like, oh god, she's going into danger, and then the next scene you realize, oh no, it's okay. She did get in touch with the adults in the show. She's going to be okay. And that actress, I wish all the best for her. She conveys so much so well, and I want to look as she gets older. I want to see her in more romances on, you know, of her own. No idea how old she is. I'm terrible at judging ages. So Noria recently did a YouTube video about how teenagers never get cast as teenagers; they always cast adults, and that's I blame that entirely. I blame
Yeah.
Hollywood on my
Yeah.
inability to judge someone's age. And the fact that I was 6 foot age 12. Like, I didn't age like a normal human being. So I cannot judge ages at all. So I have no idea how old this girl is. If she is indeed old enough to be in romances, I hope I see her in romances soon. But yeah, no, the casting was superb, honestly, and they don't do as much of the like the heaven hierarchy side of things. It's very much like that stuff is on the other side of the veil, and that's not what the hotel is about. It's about that like transition of people who aren't ready to go to the afterlife.
Yeah.
But it like I said, it's interesting like seeing like the difference and the fact that it makes sense that Woojin is fed up and frustrated and like the angry auntie who's like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to babysit. Whereas Manuel is like, she's the cool aunt who's like, oh yeah, here's $20 and access to the internet. Go have fun. I'm gonna be in here smoking a cigarette and drinking a gin and tonic. And I just, yeah, I honestly, I need to try and find a totally legal way to watch Mystic Pop-Up Bar because Manager Gui did things to me. Oh my god, I love that man.
It is
I think
so
the
like
idea of, as an aromantic, the idea of somebody just tolerating all my bullshit for eternity is probably the only way I would ever be in a relationship. But yeah, I loved their dynamic, and it's completely different to the dynamic between Chan Sung and
yeah. Yeah, because
Manuel. It's
I
completely
remember
different.
I remember watching it. Like I said, I did watch like maybe 2 episodes of Hotel de Luna.
Mm-hmm.
And like even as I was watching Mystic Pop-Up Bar, I was comparing it, and I was like, oh, there are so
Mm-hmm.
many differences. There are similarities,
Mm-hmm.
but also like each one of them does what they want to do, like what they are set out to do
Mm-hmm.
very well. Right?
Yeah.
Because Mystic Pop-Up Bar was less about romance, and more about family, right?
Mm.
And from
Mm-hmm.
the very first episode, you see it as manager Gui and Wooju being the parents to Kangbei's character. Kangbei,
Mm-hmm.
who is an orphan and has often been neglected and ignored and cursed at, and who you find out is just so desperately searching for love. And then he
Mm-hmm.
stumbles on this mystic pop-up bar and finds family, and these two people, even death eventually joins. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not like manager Gui and Wooju. These two people who would sacrifice over and over to help him. And it just breaks my
Mm-hmm.
heart. It's so beautiful that like the focus of the show was not on the romance. We barely really got one. In fact, the romance we
Mm-hmm.
really got was the romance from the past. But the the
Mm-hmm.
the core of the story was about we make our own family.
Mm-hmm.
Because by finding people who accept and understand our type of weird, we end up being our most truest selves. And
Well put.
like whether it's between Kang, whether it's um Kangbei and sorry, whether it's Kangbei and uh Urine, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
Kangbei or Urine's relationship, right? With regards how they how this girl who's always been considered unlucky and this boy who's always been considered cursed because no other person really can stand them or touch them, and yet they fit perfectly. Or even between Kangbei and manager Gui and Manager Gui and Woju, and even Yoreen and her best friend. Like it's find the people who get and understand and appreciate your weird,
Mm-hmm.
and you find people who love you for you, and they are your family, and they would always have your back and always be in your corner. And it's just beautiful. Like ah, it's a good drama. It's a
It's
definitely
interesting, like that.
12 episodes, you all.
Yeah, it's worth it. I was just gonna say that like that in the same way is like the romance in Hotel de Luna is very much you have to do what is best for the other person, not what is best for you. And that's like a theme that runs through in various sub
Mm,
stories as well. It's like love isn't something that devours; it's something that gives in its best form and in its purest form. And that you shouldn't be selfish in your wants, desires, and things like that. That you need to constantly be thinking of the other person, and that's what love is. Sounds awful. I would hate to
mm.
have such an affliction, but it's lovely to watch. Um, yeah, and also there is the found family aspect in Hotel de Luna, but it's very much like a case of there's still very much a central romance is still the central driving force of the show, like even more than the supernatural stuff, so or the paranormal stuff. Um,
Hmm.
that
Oh
the
yeah.
romance is the central thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think thank you for bringing that back, because I did mention that we were going to address, or I was going to address, why I think, for example, the
Mm,
supernatural paranormal stories for like K-dramas work so much better than what we get on Western TV. And I think it's
mm-hmm,
also because of the fact that the very format of K-dramas necessitates a shorter story and a more compact story. And this
mm-hmm,
might be contrary, because I did mention, like, I do have a YouTube channel, y'all. And on that YouTube channel, I made a video recently talking about well, not recently, but I did make a video talking about um why I think TV is dying. And I believe that the reason why is because, everybody's making shorter and shorter seasons.
mm-hmm,
Um, and here is the thing. I think personally that the reason why K dramas, like paranormal, supernatural K dramas, seem to get it right with this is because, one, there's a clear focus of what their story is, right? Two,
mm-hmm.
there's a there's a limit, right? So Mystic Pop-Up Bar was 12 episodes. What they ended up
Hotel
doing
de
was
Luna is 16.
creating. Exactly, Hotel de Luna is 16. And what they ended
Yeah.
up doing was show that we can keep this show going forever. In fact, they could have. It would have just been a case of bringing a case, one case of the week every week, and would all be fine and all of that. But the core
Mm-hmm,
of the story was that they created a sense of urgency with regard the fact that Wuju needs to hit 100,000 souls by the end of the month. Why does Wuju need to hit 100,000? Sorry, I said 100,000 souls. 100 needs to have resolved 100,000 grudges for 100,000 souls by the end of the
mm-hmm,
month. Why does Wuju need to have resolved grudges for 100,000 souls before the end of the month? Well, it's because she's been serving this same punishment for the last 500 years. And now the mistress of the dead, the mistress of the underworld, has stated that, she's hit her limit. Wuju needs this amount of souls, like she needs to complete this ASAP in order to get her chance. All she has is a month. And by that, by because of that limit that was placed, one, it does a lot of things with regards to story. It helps us to see that, one, Wuju has been doing this work. She's been consistently doing this for the last 990 times. It explains why she's so frustrated, because she's had to listen to people express their grudges to her 99,000 times, 99,990 times, and resolve all those times as well, right? We also know that if it's 10, it does not make any sense for the show to be longer than that number, because
mm-hmm,
what she needs is 10, like she needs 10 like 10 moments, 10 people to resolve it. It does not make any sense as well for any of these grudges to spill over into another episode, because it is a case, an episode, a grudge. That's the kind of system that it's consistently been. And so I think that, from the start of the story, limits and markers were put in place to ensure that this is, till when this can be allowed to go on. After this is the end result. And so therefore the stakes have already been set. There's like, do you understand? Like, it's for example,
Yeah.
when people talk about when you're coming up with, like, say, a plan, right? And they tell you that it has to be time based, or like, no, I say a plan. When you're setting a goal, they tell you that it has to be time based, it has to be achievable, because if it's not time based, then you can just be like, oh, I will get to it whenever I'll get to it. But having a end date, an end period in mind, does keep you focused and keeps the story going in a focused direction. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
Western stories that have this, that lean into the supernatural, paranormal stories, do not have that. Or if they have
No.
it, they do not stick with it. Case in
Mm-hmm.
point, Supernatural. Initially, it was, by the time we get to the end of season 5. Why? Because the end of season 5 was when we resolved the things with Lucifer. We get all the revelations about Sam and Dean, specifically
Mm-hmm.
Sam and the Yellow Eye Demon, and all of that. Like, that was a complete, compact ending. The show could have
Mm-hmm.
ended in season 5. But then they kept going, and then we got 10 more seasons. And it sputtered and died at the end, which is so
Mm-hmm.
sad because Supernatural was phenomenal for like the first couple of
Yeah.
seasons.
It's one of those
So,
shows as
like,
well where
that's
you wanted it to keep going for the actors, but the characters, oh
yes.
guys, shoot them in the head, let them die.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing about K dramas. K dramas are like, we know you want to keep going. We know if we wanted to, we can keep it going, but we're going to stop here.
Mm.
Right. And some of them, of course, do end up saying that, okay, we can give you a second season. But if you notice, even the ones that give you a second season, for example, they don't extend it beyond second seasons. And there's a reason why they stick to, like, they it's not time bound, like, right, for example,
Mm-hmm.
hospital playlist, for example, has a season 2, because it was clear that because it's a hospital setting, right, they can go on infinitely, but they choose
Mm.
not to. You understand, like, you can go on
Yeah.
infinitely, but they choose not to, because there's also you have to keep in mind that, one, are the stories of these doctors, as it been told fully? Have we hit the limit of it? Do we want to keep going? Do we think that we've done
Mm-hmm.
enough? Right. So those are the kind of questions to keep in mind when watching. Like, I like to keep in mind when watching the dramas. And that is why I think that it does work better with K dramas
Mm-hmm.
and even Chinese dramas than it does with
K
Western
dramas,
stories.
I feel like if you've become jaded with Western TV, with English shows and American shows specifically, because those are the ones I used to watch,
Mm.
and especially with what I consider as very much a Julie Plec move, which is, I'm bored of this ship, I'm going to break them up and ship them with other people. If that kind of bullshit really grinds at you, that's where C dramas and K dramas, when they do their romances, because that's the point of the show. The show's a romance. These two people are going to get together. When they're together, the show ends. And like K dramas, even more than C dramas, C dramas tend to go longer. They tend to like go 24 episodes is a short season for a C drama. They will, unless except for the very good ones, you will get these draggy bits in the middle where people are off doing side quests, and you're like, hey, aren't you trying to avenge your own death? I've been watching a few of those at the moment. Sorry, that's the first thing that came to mind. Aren't you supposed to be avenging your own death while disguised as somebody else? Why are you doing this random thing with this merchant family for no fucking reason in the middle of nowhere that's only tangentially connected to anything at all? But that's something that C dramas tend to do. K dramas like, nah, we're doing 16 episodes max. We are doing bum bum bum. There, we're done. We are no side quests. We're just doing the main quests for this run. We know
Which
exactly where
is
we're going.
irritating
We
to
know
me because
exactly how
I
to get
like
there.
side quests. which irritates me because
I'll
I
tell you
like
what.
side quests. I like side quests in my shows. I like side quests in my games. I'm not a big fan of side quests in my movies because movies are, by definition, a much shorter
Yeah,
time, like a much shorter form
yeah,
of
and they're much more
media,
linear.
piece of media. You only get like
Hmm.
2 hours, 3 hours. So there's no really time. But like TV shows and video games, please give me side quests, even
Hmm.
books. I don't mind like the middle books in your trilogy being a side quest. Just give it to me. I want side quests.
I have so many more recommendations for you based just on that. On that. I do. I just occasionally go, wait a minute, why are you doing this? And it's like it's usually in the not great shows. Like the great shows, you get to the end of it and you go, wait a minute, why was that? But when you're actually watching it and you're going, no, honey, why? You're frustrating me. You we have shit to do. Why are you off on doing tangents? You have this list of things that you're meant to be doing. Why are you doing something else? K dramas don't get to that stage because it's like they've only got the short amount of episodes, and so they're very much more
Mm,
succinct. And that I think has worked really well for this kind of story because if you're doing a story that is about mortality itself and about the need to let go, if you do 40 episodes of it, people are going to feel like you're smacking them over the head with the message. Whereas with the nice compact K drama format, you can have a message heavy show without it being condescending or patronizing or like listening to a therapist who you know is right and you don't want to admit is right kind of thing. The message is there and you're able to accept it without getting bored of it. And like the one
mm.
that I want to talk about, I think, God, is it the next? I think the Izakai episode is our next episode. That is 100% this problem of like 2/3 into the story and we're treading water because the show has a certain amount of episodes that they're meant to fill, but the story could
Yes.
be finished if they actually get on with the story.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's there's a huge problem in Fateful Love. Not so much in this one. And I'm leery of treading water because I can't go into great big detail without ruining the experience of watching Hotel Del Luna. Um,
Mm.
so I'm not good at this show, guys. I mean, if you're listening to it at this stage, you know this about me. I get overexcited and I just want to tread water, going, oh my god! And then there's this bit, and then there's this bit that's really good, and then there's this other bit that's really good, and I just don't think that makes very compelling listening. So yeah. I think I love the Korean format of like that certain amount and going it's one and done. We might put these actors together in similar shows. We
Mm.
probably won't. But it's such a wonderful way of making TV. Now I think that it means that it gives more opportunities to different actors. Yes. Is it extremely
Okay.
difficult to make a career out of acting in Korea? Yeah, I think absolutely. This makes it extremely difficult because there's always new people coming through, and I'm betting that the
Yeah.
second you hit 35, you're playing dads, and if you're a woman, you've got to wait another 10 years, and then you start playing evil mothers. Um, so what are you supposed to do? Just work in a shop for the interim kind of thing? Whereas if you get a contract for a TV show and it doesn't get cancelled by Fox after 5 episodes, you could have the next 5 to 10 years as a steady paycheck. And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
like, on the
Yep.
one hand, I think that is better for the creatives, for the both on screen and behind screen. It is way better to have a system where they will just, even if they're shit later series, they will keep making the show. Um,
Case in point, Ellen Pompeo, people. Ellen Pompeo.
mhm.
Because
Yeah,
yes, Grey's Anatomy is still ongoing, and she's
and
finally
she left
left,
that
but
show and
that
came
was like
back to
after
it.
almost like 20 episodes or something.
Hmm. My
Ah,
God, I
Lord,
yeah.
Grace.
But yeah, talking
Yeah,
about
she was there for like 18
hotel, like
episodes or
America
something.
is still making a show called General Hospital that has been going since it was in
Oh
black
yeah,
and
yeah,
white.
yeah.
You
Like
know,
yeah,
there is
yeah,
plenty
like
to
since
do,
the
and
80s or
choosing,
70s.
yeah. So choosing to say no, we're just going to do 2 seasons because that's what we're happy with as creating a show that is the best of what we can do. We're not going to start repeating stuff. That is so commendable in so many ways because
Yeah.
yeah, you're not like squeezing every coin you can get out of a group of writers desperately trying to think of a new way
and
for
and
a
and
couple to
I
break
just want
up
to also
or
point out that because there are people that might be like, oh yeah, but you know, when for example Netflix cancels a show after one season or two seasons,
mm-hmm,
people complain. There's a difference between we wrote a show for it to be two seasons, and so all the character arcs, the character and narrative arc was wrapped up satisfactorily,
mm-hmm.
and this is where we are going to end it. There's a difference between that and the network said that they're not doing anymore and so we're canceling the show, right?
Yeah,
Like I
and there's
think that
something in
it's
like
like those that are listening need to keep in
yeah,
mind the difference, because I know that, you know,
definitely.
there might be a possibility of people listening thinking that what we're saying is that, oh, all Western media needs to replicate what is happening with, like, Asian dramas and be shorter and more concise. That is not what we're saying.
Yeah,
What we are
yeah.
saying
It's
is
not
that
about being shorter. It's about
yes,
knowing
it's not about
how
being
much
shorter.
story. Yeah, it's about knowing what your story is and using the right amount of episodes to tell your story and to know what the story is going to be in its complete in
Yes.
its completion in its
Yes.
entirety. Because the problem with
And being and
one of the reasons I
staying
was
with
thrown
that.
off Western stuff is like American movies and American TV shows, particularly, had got to the stage that we never got a complete story. Everything was trying to be a franchise, everything was trying to be the next Supernatural, which meant that
Yes.
nothing was complete. And that meant that nothing. I just don't. I never felt satisfaction. If you'll excuse the expression, I never was completely satisfied by these shows, darling. And you just feel like, again, like you're treading water. Like you are never getting a story in the same way that I was getting from books, and that's why I sort of
Mm-hmm.
I heard about this magical thing called a K drama, and I was like, what is all the fuss? And I think Mystic Pop Up Bar was like the second or third one I watched, and I didn't manage to finish it, but it was one of the second or third I watched, and being introduced to like to something that is prepared to put the money on the line for the special effects to and the practical effects, as both shows I think do practical effects as well, to get the right cast for every role, to just to put all into the writing and the world building and the having enough extras to make scenes believable and stuff like that, and
Mm.
having the amount of faith in a show and to produce that rather than cutting corners and then being surprised when people think your show isn't as good as it could be, you know. um but yeah, I'm gonna stop because this is a ramble I think we can have on our own time, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's no problem. I'm also aligned with it. I unlike Holly, I do still watch Western shows and Western TV because I do still enjoy it. Shout out to those that are currently following and watching Bridgerton. And of course we're also
Meh.
looking forward to, yes, Holly's like nah. And of course, like I mentioned, like I'm a big fan of TV, period. I watch every single thing I can find. Western, Asian, you're going to find me everywhere. But I would say that I do agree that that is like Western television we need to stick more to our guns with regards what the story would be,
Mm-hmm.
push to make sure that story gets made, and then wrap up the story in a way that you're like, okay, the arcs are finished. And I don't necessarily mean by you're like, oh yeah, everything ended like a perfect tidy bow. I'll give an example of a Western show that I think, for me personally, did end well, even though some people, had problems with it and might disagree. I am a big fan of the Magicians TV show. I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
have the books. I do not love the books. I think the books are interesting, derogatory. But I love the TV show. I adore the TV show. And after 5 seasons, right, the story wraps up, like the show wraps up the story of Alice and Quentin. Actually, not Quentin at this point, RIP. Um, oops, spoiler alert, sorry people. So the story wraps up the story wraps up for Alice and Katie and Elliot and Penny, and Margot, and basically, and Julia, of course, basically, and even Fen and Josh. we get a wrap up of all their stories in different ways, in a very open ended way, whereby it becomes, if you want to continue telling this story, you can, but this is the story we want to tell, and we feel comfortable ending it in this spot. And I think that that was great. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with this sci-fi show that is was on Canadian TV called Killjoys. If you like science fiction shows, and a female lead, Dutch is badass. She's amazing. I'm telling you, like that show, if you love shows with strong, powerful women figures, on Western TV, I highly recommend Killjoys. It is fantastic. But like Killjoys for me also had a satisfactory ending. So it can be done. And Western TV, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to say Western TV hasn't done it. Western TV does do it. I just need writers and showrunners to stick their guns and make that a consistent thing, whereby, like
Mm-hmm.
Holly said, you start what your show with a clear understanding of, this is the story I want to tell. This is where the
Mm-hmm.
characters are at the start of my story. This is where I expect them to be, or this is where I'm going to bring them to by the end of it. You
Mm-hmm.
figure out how many seasons and how many episodes will be needed to get these characters from point A to point Z believably, in a believable amount of
Mm-hmm.
time. Because just because you're like, oh yeah, this person suddenly had a change of heart, and you pull it in one episode, does not make it believable, right? Cough cough, Game of Thrones season 8, cough cough. But as I was saying, you can if you're like, okay, this is the amount of episodes and stuff I need to get this character to this point, and then you write your script, you create your show to fit that. That is what I mean. Like, it can be done. And it is clear that Asian dramas do so with this in mind. And I just need Western writers and showrunners and directors to also take a couple of pages, or the whole damn book if they need to be more
Mm-hmm.
aligned with that vision, so that we can, because I am a sucker for good stories, and I want everybody to be making good stories so that I can have good stories to watch and talk about with my friends. That is what I
Mm-hmm.
want. Thank you very much.
I agree.
But I think,
Absolutely. There's
yeah.
not enough focus on story, and
Hmm.
on story as a complete entity. It also it leads to my I think is that's why they have continuity issues so much, and like where suddenly
Yes,
somebody has a
yes,
sister
I
that they
agree.
didn't have in season 2. That kind of stuff.
Yep,
Um,
yep. Or somebody
but
says they
to
had an
try,
injury, and you're like, but when did this injury occur?
no, you
You didn't
didn't.
have an injury.
Yeah, you've never mentioned this before. Okay, if the actor has an injury, that's different. No, okay, to try and bring us into focus, because I can 100% see us just having this as a conversation, and I'm trying to be good. Uh, who would you recommend Mystic Pop-Up Bar 2 as, like, if somebody is who's only watched shows in the US or shows in the UK or whatever,
Mm,
what shows were you like, okay, if you liked this, you will like Mystic Pop-Up Bar? Or if you hated this,
mm,
you will like Mystic Pop-Up Bar?
mm. Oh, that's a good question.
Sorry, I probably should have told you about it before, we were
Ooh, that
recording.
is a good
But it just
question.
popped into my
No,
head.
no, 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 no. I actually like it. Um, I actually
I
like
think
it.
people who liked the first season of Lost
So,
Girl, both of these shows would be up your
mm,
right up your boat.
interestingly enough, I, for me, I think that um if your people, um if you're somebody, and this is like an old show, people, this is an old drama, so this will probably age us. For those that thought that we were like young girlies, this will probably age us. But if you're somebody that ever watched Touched by an Angel when you were much younger,
Mhm.
right? So remember Touched by an
Mhm.
Angel, it was just basically you had these angels on earth who basically were doing good deeds and helping people around them. And it was in helping people around them that they got to learn more and grow as individuals while on earth. They were having very human experiences and growing through that by helping others. So if you're somebody
Mhm.
who watched Touched by an Angel, who liked it, who liked the themes of it, not necessarily the religious part of it, right? Because like angels exist in a lot of cultures, not just Christianity. So for people that are automatically clenching and thinking that Noria is about to start preaching, no, no, I'm not. I'm just saying that if you're someone that enjoyed that show and what he stood for and the messages he had to give and exactly the format, because every episode you could look forward to, okay, who exactly were the angels going to help? And to be fair to the people of Seoul, Kangbe, um, Woju, and Manager Gui were technically their angels, because if you had a grudge and you found yourself at the Mystic Pop-Up Bar, these three were going to do everything it took. Some Manager Gui wore a fucking skirt and heels because he temporarily transformed
Mm-hmm.
into a hot girl. And I kid you not, there is nothing funnier than seeing this tall, buff man attempting to walk away because his glamour wore off. And he was there wobbling along on his kitten heels with a skirt that was slit to the back of it, like to the middle of his thigh. It was hot, it was sexy, it was
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. I'm just saying that they get into a lot of hijinks but are able to resolve it. So yeah, if you're somebody that likes if you're somebody that liked Touched by an Angel, definitely. If you're somebody that enjoyed, I'm trying to see if is there a Western show that was all about like specifically that took place in a diner? I'm not thinking like because it's
See,
not
food
Riverdale
isn't as
because that was not the
important.
focus.
Yeah, food isn't as much of an importance. Like, obviously, like,
Yeah.
we have certain foods at certain times of year kind of thing, but it's not as much of a cultural importance as it is in oh, I just lost my headphone. Sorry, I can't hear you. There we go. It's not as much of cultural importance as in any of the any country that I would consider Asian, whether it be from like India all the way through kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
I really hope I didn't lost. Yeah. So, not really. Like occasionally, like I know books where it's like bakery. Like bakeries are a big focal point for romance books a lot of the time because they're one of the few
Mm-hmm.
places where hedonism is expected and enjoyed, kind of thing, and it's not seen as a negative. Where no, I can't. I'm sure there is one. That was why I was thinking about Lost Girl actually, because like the bar is like a focal point of that show, and like somewhere that they come to every episode where things take place and stuff, and where the wisdom comes from. Um, but no, I can't think of an eatery one. There's
Right?
the diner
Because
in
I'm
Dead
I'm
Like Me. That's another show that if you really liked Dead Like Me, both of these shows will be right up your street.
oh yes, yes,
Fantastic TV
definitely.
shows.
Dead like
Deserved
me.
more
Oh
episodes.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. And see, that was short. That was also
Mm-hmm.
short. Concise. The key word there being concise, because I like the
Yeah.
rambling. I like the like I've already established earlier on in this video. I like the rambling. I like people taking the diversion. I like the side quest.
Mm-hmm.
But so far as you're not just taking me on a side quest for the sake of a side quest, it's a temporary
Yeah.
diversion, and now we're coming back to the main thing. You need to
Mm-hmm.
always bring me back to the main thing. And I need to be clear that okay, you have an idea of where this main story is going and where you want it to end. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Was that the only question? Was there any other question? I think that was the only question you asked, right? What show I would
Yeah,
recommend?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 and
yeah,
just
yeah.
just as a twist on would you recommend it, because I think like we both enjoyed these shows. It's
Oh,
very clear we both
definitely.
enjoyed our shows this
Highly,
week. So like there's
highly
no
recommend.
yeah, definitely both of them. I think what order would you say, because like is the end okay, so I don't obviously I know that you're not into spoiling as much. The ending of Mystic
Mhm.
Pop-Up Bar, is it sad or is it uplifting?
Oh, very
Or is
uplifting.
it both?
Very
Yeah,
like
in that case, watch
oh.
Hotel Luna first. Get your subby hubby and dommy mummy fill with Hotel Del Luna, and then go and hit family vibes.
Yeah,
With Mystic
yeah,
Pop-Up Bar.
yeah. Cry in Hotel de Luna, and you will cry as well
Mm.
in Mystic Pop-Up Bar because some things just hit you in the feels. But like
Yeah,
you'll be cry smiling at the end because
there
I
we go.
kid you not, I was not expecting the ending because I was ready for tragedy, but the way in which
Hmm.
the show turned it around and made it believable, and it was still consistent with the characters. Love
Hmm.
it. So if your concern is that,
Brilliant.
oh my God, our family will be torn apart, I can guarantee and assure you that no, they won't. Just stick
Brilliant.
with it till the end.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it was done really, really well. So definitely a happy ending. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Whereas I spent like an hour watching it, Hotel de Luna's last episode, crying, and then kept crying on and off for like another hour after that because it's just like, oh, you
Dang.
don't know. So yeah, watch Hotel de Luna first.
Dang.
Get the crying out your system. Well, not out your system, obviously, but numb to the pain. But it's not one where I'm like, don't watch the final episode. Like if you have depression, don't watch the final episode. It is a very hard episode to
Oof.
watch. Um, Especially as somebody in my 30s who therefore has gone through times of my life where I have said goodbye to friends and even family, but also where I am in my late 30s and therefore just really fully comprehending my own mortality. And it's like, no, I don't need this. I don't need this. Sobbing into my cat's fur, as is my wont. But I still recommend it. It's such a good show. And yeah, the again, actors absolutely superb. The cinematography in this one is really good. Like they really try. Every effort is made to make this thing absolutely beautiful. And like I think I will say that like I'm a massive wuss. There are scenes, especially in the early ones, where you have like the aggrieved spirits. Um, I kind of got creeped out a few times, but it's not like, for example, season 1 of Supernatural, where it's like, I'm terrified, I cannot watch this, fuck you.
Mm.
You get scared, but it's never for long periods of time. It's not gratuitous in any way. It's very much atmospheric rather than gratuitous. I'm trying to think
Mm.
of
Mm.
anything
Mm.
negative else to warn people about, and I can't really think of anything. Um, yeah. The moral is let go of your grudges, not because other people deserve to be forgiven, but because you are wasting your spiritual energy on
Uh,
assholes who don't deserve your spiritual energy.
but sometimes you just want to be a grudge for a little bit. I would just say like a date for the end of your grudge. Be like, I am going to detest this
Ooh, that's
person
good.
up until this date. After which, I am not going to waste a second, another minute of my precious time on this person. I am moving on. But for the
That's for
duration
people,
where you like
obviously.
are bearing that grudge, actively hate them. Yes, thank you. Actively
Yeah.
hate them. Hate
And that
them.
is like specifically for people. Obviously, as a Nigerian and a Welsh woman, it doesn't count for colonizers. Them you're allowed to hold a grudge against for eternity, and no one is
Yes,
going to
yes.
expect
Thank
anything
you.
else.
Thank you.
I was like, the second we start talking about grudges, my Welshness starts to raise its head, and like, I'm not letting go of my grudges. How dare you for even asking? And I think there's a huge cultural thing about that. It's like watching these shows as well. It's like there's a huge part of um, the Zen aspect of Buddhism and of the shamanic religions that preceded Buddhism and coexisted alongside it. Is there is very much this whole thing of like let go because it's like you are making yourself sick spiritually or physically with negativity. Whereas being a Welsh woman, it's a case of like, this is all we fucking have to keep us going, and we will continue. We have slate, sheep, gorse, and grudges, and that's what keeps us going. So, like, from a cultural standpoint, it's really interesting to watch these shows be like, just let go. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. Anyway, I think we are
And I
probably
think,
getting ready to
yeah, I
wrap up.
think this is a great place to wrap up
Yeah.
and end the episode. You can check, we're going to put it in the episode notes, right? So definitely
Mm-hmm.
the places you can reach out and like chat with us. If you've watched either Mystic
Mm-hmm.
Pop-Up Bar or Hotel de Luna, let us know. If you've watched both, let us know. Please note that none of our
Mm-hmm.
videos are meant to be like a comparison of these two shows, right? They just happen to be
Mm-hmm.
shows that are perfectly aligned together, which is why we always feature them in an episode of the podcast. So we are not saying, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that, oh, yeah, Hotel de Luna is better than this. Of course, we do stand by our take that the double was infinitely better than Lady Revenger.
Yeah.
We stand by
And there will
that.
be other shows as
Um,
well.
And exactly, and there'll be other shows as well. But what we're just saying is that, sometimes, especially in this case, none of these shows are better than the other. They just bring
Mm,
different things, even though they are aligned in so many ways. And
mm-hmm.
ideally, we want you to watch both, and ideally, we want you to talk about these shows as well, especially with us. Um,
Mm,
well, once again, we're going to drop where you can reach us on all the things in the notes for for the episode, and we'll see you in the next one, where we're still going
yeah.
to be talking about Asian dramas, because subtitles are a girl's best friend. So, Holly, do you have anything else you want to say, or should we wrap things up
No,
at this point?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so we're going to wrap things up today. And thank you so much for gifting us your time and for listening. And we hope until our next episode, you find many more dramas, some of them subtitled, maybe some of them not. But we hope you find many more dramas that you love and talk about with those who also enjoy them, like we are with all of you right now. Bye.